Alright guys, so this was your homework. Remember to show all your work to get credit. The first problem is asking which expression is equivalent to this. First thing I want you to know, you have parentheses, so you have to distribute. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite it. I don't like it there. So I'm going to have 10 x minus 10 negative 10x minus 3. Okay, so I have those parentheses. I want to get rid of it. I'm going to distribute. And you distribute by multiplying. So 10 times x is 10x. 10 times negative 10, I get negative 100. This is like a negative 1. Negative 1 times 10, I get negative 10x. And then negative 1 times negative 3, I get positive 3. Don't forget that when you multiply two negatives, you get a positive number. So after that step, all you have to really do is combine like terms. And the way you do that, I have 10x. What else in this expression has an x? And I have that negative 10x. When you have a positive plus a negative of the same numbers, like you can cancel them out. It's like you have $10 and then you're taking it away. So they cancel out right here. And I end up with negative 100 plus 3. So negative 100 plus 3, that's what I have left over. And my answer is negative 97. These problems are not exactly like the ones on your homework, so don't think that's your answer. Circle it so that I know that's what you did. And in problem number 2, which equation is equivalent to 14x minus 11y equals 44? So, what I really wanted you to do here was solve for y. We've been doing it a few times. So you do 14x minus 11y equals 44. Put it in slope-intercept form. Fancy way of saying solve for y. What I'm going to do is draw the fence. If you want y by itself, cover it with your finger. What's bothering it? That 14x. So this needs to go to the other side with that 44. Okay, we don't want it on the same side as the y anymore. So when you're moving something and it's crossing the fence, it's going to change signs. If it was a positive here, in order to move it, I had to make it a negative. So right here, we're going to write it as minus 14x, and it cancels out. So I end up with negative 11y equals negative 14x plus 44. It's just good habit to start writing the x first. Will it hurt? No, I could write 44 minus 14x, but it's good habit to do it that way. Afterwards, I'm going to go ahead and to get rid of that negative 11, I have to divide negative 11. So we are going to divide everything by negative 11. This cancels out. And I end up with y equals 14 divided by 11 doesn't reduce, so it's just 14 over 11x. 44 divided by negative 11 is negative 4. And this entire equation is my answer. Two negatives gives me a positive, guys. Don't forget that. Don't leave this as a negative. Two of them are negative. This is positive now. All right? So, second problem. Given the following equation, identify the rate of change. Rate of change is the same thing as slope. Because they are asking for the slope, this is a very simple problem. We don't actually have to do any math work. You look at the equation and you're thinking, what does it look like? This equation is in point slope form. So it's y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. out of all of these letters, the slope is the m, and you find it right next to the parentheses. Okay? So out of all of these numbers and letters, which one would be my slope? The one right next to the parentheses, because it's in point slope form. So the slope is the 8. So the answer for this, without any actual work, just because I recognize this, is 8. And you are done. Y varies directly with x, and x equals 5 when y is 75. What is the value of x when y is negative 45? So a big thing I want you to know is the words varies directly. When you see them, you're thinking, how many numbers did they give me? They give me 1, 2, 3 numbers. Since they gave you 3 numbers and it's a direct variation problem, you need to set up a proportion. Okay? I always like to start with y on top, x on the bottom. So, x equals 5 when y is 75. So I'm going to go ahead and write 75 over 5. Because when x is 5, the y equals 75. Equals. Okay? The y is negative 45. And we do not know this x. That's what we want to find out. What is the value of x? That is what they're asking. That's what you want to know. So we're going to first cross multiply. 75 times x, I get 75x equals negative 45 times 5, and that is negative 225. Cross multiply here. Negative 225. At this point, yes, if you had your calculator, you can do y1, y2, but it's a simple one-step equation. What do I need to do to get the x by itself? What's bothering it? That's 75. We got to get rid of it. And the way to get rid of it, since they're multiplying, you have to do the opposite, which is divide by 75 and divide this side by 75. That way we can cancel this out. And you will end up with x equals negative 3. All right, we have one more problem on your homework. So, solve the inequality. So you have 10x plus 3 is greater than or equal to 60. First things I want to do, I have parentheses. Let's get rid of those. So we're going to distribute. 10 times x is 10x. And then 10 times 3 is 30. Is greater than or equal to 60. Afterwards, you want the variable by itself. I want you to solve for x. That's how you get a solution to this inequality. So if I want the x all alone, I'm going to cover it. And on that same side, what's bothering me? It's that 30. And since it's addition plus 30, we have to do the opposite to be able to move this to the other side. So we're going to do minus 30 here. And it cancels out of this side. Right here, I get an actual number, so I'm going to keep this symbol like this. 60 minus 30 is 30. I'm allowed to do that because they're both constants. All right? And then on this side, all I have left over is that 10x. I want the x by itself. So what's bothering it now is that 10. Since they are multiplying, in order to move it, I have to divide. So divide by 10. Divide by 10. This cancels out. I'm not dividing by a negative. Do not switch the symbol. That only happens if this number is negative, but it is not. Do not switch it. Okay? So that's x is greater than or equal to 3. And for the extra credit, I want you to graph that on a number line. So I'm going to draw my number line right here. I'm going to have 3, Something bigger than 3, that's 4. And something smaller than 3, that's 2. When you have this symbol with the equals to, you have a closed circle. When you have the equal to, it's a closed circle. And then I want you to think about it like an arrow. It's pointing to the right. So, but you can also remember that this means greater than or equal to. So you are making the statement that x can be any number that is bigger than 3 or equal to 3. Is 4, does 4 fulfill that? Yes, that's why it's going towards the right.